someone contacts me and I don't necessarily like them, I'm adult enough to know and have a few strategies on how I can either block them, not talk to them, let them go, all of that. But, you know, I'm an adult. Some adults still don't even know how to handle things like that. So have we equipped our young person with being able to know what to do if a random person contacts? Because, you know, it's a predator's like dream out there with being able to contact kids. And predators are going for younger kids between 9 and 15. That's like, wow, this is open slather for them to be able to do that. Do they understand? Does a young person understand what online bullying actually is? Like, you know, what comments can go, what I can say to people. Is it appropriate that I'm using this language about people? You know, do they actually understand what online bullying is? Do they understand about what appropriate images they should put about themselves? Do they understand what appropriate conversations they should be having? So what information they should share about themselves and, you know, passing on passwords and that kind of stuff and letting people know where they are. Like what Sonya said, do they understand that they are not their likes and shares and views? If I put something up and I don't get enough likes or I'm not getting enough comments or reactions, you know, am I not worthy of putting something up? There's been a big move of young people actually coming offline, which is this is like a little bit of a secret killer that people aren't talking about, that are coming offline because when they're online, they're not getting the reactions that they want. And so they're feeling like, well, if nobody's liking my stuff, then what's the point of me actually going on there and actually pulling off and not being on social media at all? Now, from a parent's point of view, they might actually say, oh, my kid doesn't need to be on social media. Oh, they don't want to do that. And, you know, they're not really interested in that. But what they're not actually saying is the reason they're not on there is because they almost don't feel like they're worthy of being on there because they're not getting the amount of attention. Like you know, young people are expected, you sign up on your first social media account, you've got 1,000 friends, you're putting something up and it's going viral and, you know, everybody's reacting to something and putting on comments. And for some people, that's just not how it is. And it's almost like having your popularity tattooed on your forehead. So letting them understand, hey, if you do want to put something up and nobody says anything, or you get a couple of people that do say something, that's not the end of it. Don't like delete it because you think, oh, I wouldn't want anyone say. I've had so many young people go back and say, I put something up a week ago and now I'm deleting it because it just didn't get the reactions that I was expected. And if you looked me up, then you would actually find that I'm randomly putting this stuff out there and nobody's giving me the reaction, so I'm not as popular. So then we also need to think about, do they actually know the effects of some of the stuff that they're putting online, what effects in the future that would have? And then I guess finally, the last thing is that, are they equipped and do they have somebody that they can communicate with if it all falls apart? Like, do they have either me or, you know, their parent or a friend or someone, just kind of like what Sonya was saying with giving them that gift of saying, contacting somebody if they don't, if they're out partying and they need someone to bring them home because they just don't feel like they can call their mum or dad. Same with social media. Do they actually have somebody that they can talk to, whether it be their parent or somebody else, that they can actually go to and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need to tell someone. Because for every problem, there is always a solution. But for some kids, they get so, you know, caught up in that world that they just don't feel like they can tell anybody. They're less likely to tell anyone about what's going on online than what they are if it's actually happening face to face. And a lot of the reasons they're less likely to tell people about it is because they figure that if they tell their parents, the first thing that they're going to do is actually take them offline, which is the way that they communicate. So they get caught up in not knowing. You know, if I tell them what's going on, they're going to make me delete my Facebook account or my Instagram account. And I don't want to do that, so better I keep it a secret.
That's really...
Have I overloaded you?
Oh, man. It's... This is probably going to be the one interview and the one conversation that I'll play back the most amount of times. Like, this is...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this has been fun-packed. I've learned. I've chuckled. And it's been an awesome experience. Now I know we got to get out of here. I know you guys are on a completely different time zone. So again, I just want to thank you guys both for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. Again, this is Sonya and Sacha, creators, presenters of the Sonya and Sacha Show, national TV and radio, directors of Australian Teenage Expo, author of The Two Worlds of Your Teenager. Make sure to go pick their book up. You can reach them always at www.sonyaandsacha.com.au. We'll also put all of their contact information in the show notes. Before we let you go, Sonya and Sacha, I did want to ask you both, you mentioned earlier that you do have a podcast coming out in 2018. We know you're on radio. We know you're on television now. We know you speak to over 200 different venues each year. But with this podcast that's coming out, is there a name already for it that we should be keeping an eye out for? And also, what will we be getting? What should we be expecting from the podcast coming out in 2018?
Oh, it's very exciting. We are very, very excited about this, and we haven't told anybody. So you're probably the first person in the world to actually know.
Oh, nice.
This. It's something that's not been done before, at least in Australia, and it is a same topic but two different takes. So the podcast will be one for parents and one for teenagers, based on the exact same topic. So our audiences will be able to get the information that they need, regardless of what age they are. So I don't know, are we allowed to say the name, Sash? I'm not sure. Are we allowed to actually tell?
I don't think we've actually said the name out loud, but let's just go, because why not? Let's just say it.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, well, so you know that my background's in hospitality and Sasha's background is in business, yeah?
Yep.
So when we talk to teenagers in schools, I'm known as the door bitch because I used to work on the front door of lots of nightclubs. And Sacha is known as the entrepreneur. And so the podcast is going to be called The Door Bitch and the Entrepreneur. And the teenage version is Stuff You Need to Know, and the parent version is what is it, Sash? What's the parent version subtitle?
Oh my God, how bizarre is that? That's how much we. It's like guiding a teenager. Oh no, how bad is that? We haven't starting in a couple of weeks, so.
We'll throw some names around. We're workshopping it right now, BB. But the headline will be that.
I love it. The Door Bitch and the Entrepreneur.
Yep. Now, if you saw that, BB, on a list of podcasts to watch, would that pique your interest?
Oh, I'm subscribing and I'm downloading.
I'm going to say, Billionaire Brown, good on you for subscribing, because I don't even know how to subscribe myself. So please be the first one. But actually, the podcast is really about giving parents an entire journey. So it'll be 13 episodes. Our first season is 13 episodes, and that'll just be guiding them right through the journey of a teenager. So starting off and talking about when are they ready for social media, guiding them through talking about sex education, picking subjects, choosing a career, starting to go out, drugs and alcohol, getting home safely, right up until how to communicate with them where they're having their tantrums and all of that thing. So it's kind of like a journey from young teenage years to that tweens, right up until university age for parents.
Is marijuana legal in Australia?
No.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys know this, but there's this big deal. A lot of states here in the United States are trying to legalize marijuana. Some states already have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's talking about, all of this money, all the money that it's going to bring in if they legalize marijuana. It's going to bring in all this money. Well, I was on this business XM Sirius radio show, and they were talking about something so powerful, but nobody really is paying attention to, including myself. They said, you guys think the biggest money is going to come from this marijuana once it's legalized. But he was talking about the real money in legalizing marijuana is in the education. And the reason why I love, and as soon as I seen what you guys are about, the reason why I needed to get you on this podcast is because social media with kids, I mean, this social media is still fairly new, but what we haven't had yet is people to educate our kids, our teenagers, our children, even adults. There's not a real platform where people are educating. Like when you guys say, well, hey, 9 years old, whoa, that's too old. Okay, we know it's too old, but that's usually as deep as the conversation goes. What I love about what you guys are doing, you say, hey, 9 years old is too young because this. You're educating people. And that's what I know for certain. You guys are, you're covering and educating us on topics that most parents just don't know. They say there's not a manual on how to be a parent. There may not be a manual, but there is Sacha and there's Sonya, and I'm excited. I'm fired up for the podcast coming on. This is exciting. Did you guys have any final thoughts or any last message you want to before we get out of here?
No, communicate with kids and be vulnerable about it. Be vulnerable about yourself and see how, talk about your own issues. Again, age appropriate, but be really vulnerable with them and let them see that you're a human being, and when you make mistakes that you can share it with them, because their life is going to be so full of making mistakes that if they can see that you're a person that can talk about that, then they'll actually most likely, when they've made a mistake, come to you and feel really comfortable about that. So be vulnerable and let them know your mistakes.
Love it.
And mine would be to never forget what it felt like to be a teenager and how much fun that was, and be fun. This is one of the best times of life for them. And, it's filled with craziness and emotions and trying to work out what kind of an adult they're going to be. But just never forget I think the reason why Sacha and I love speaking with teenagers so much is that we never grew up, and we never want to, because it's too much fun being in that teenage space. It's so much fun, and they've got fresh ideas, and they're fearless, and they're brave, and they're brilliant, and they want to go on adventures, and that's exactly how I want to live my life for the rest of my life. So keep it fun.
I love it. This is the Billionaire Brown Experience podcast. We had a special day today. This is with Sonya and Sacha. Till next time, everybody, continue to be.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phoebe.